endless skies. Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained, I thrive, I thrive.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Nomads 50 Plus. My name is Chris Kalaboukis, and it's my mission to interview 1,000 digital nomads. That's right, folks, 1,000 digital nomads, and have them tell us their stories of how they got into the life. And today we have a very special guest. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself, or introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us how you got into the life.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I'm very passionate about being a nomad over 50. I
Woo! I love it.
I became a nomad at 54. Let me just start out with
Took you
that.
4 years to get into it, huh?
I had to see a path to get there. So I am a CPA for nomadic creators.
Hmm.
And I have both a traditional, quote unquote, traditional CPA practice, and I'm also developing a course to help other, beginning nomadic creative businesses get a firm foundation. And I came to living, as you can see in my background, I'm a full-time RVer, and
Wow.
I've been a full-time RVer for 5 years now.
Nice.
And we travel about 50% of the year. We when we're stationary, we still live in the RV, and I was finally able to break free from my job 2 years ago. I what
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, and I was a forensic accountant for the FBI.
Wow.
And
That's
yeah, thank
serious. That's serious. Some serious stuff there.
yeah, and I was so fortunate. I mean, there's so many, the idea of COVID, is there's so many good things and there's so many bad things, and I'm sure the bad outbalances the good. But for me, it gave me the opportunity to work from home for the first time in my entire working career, and I loved it.
Mm,
And I was way more productive at home, even without all the tools that I had at the office. And, when we got called back to work after 6 months, you know, it showed them how much more productive I was because I'm a very chatty person. And so if I have coworkers to chat with, I'm probably not going to get as much done
right.
most of the time. And we lived, in law enforcement, you're basically all in these open bays where you can hear everybody and see everybody. And
Kind of like working
um
at a tech company. It's very similar.
yeah, and they were not persuaded in any way to allow me to
Mm,
do any working from home whatsoever going forward. And at that time, by then, my husband had retired from the FBI. He was offered an early retirement package and took
mm,
it, which gave me just incredible, motivation to find a way to leave my job. And I'm incredibly fortunate that we figured out, and we had some help along the way, but I still have my pension even though I left early.
right.
Uh, and and so we, finally, I retired, or I basically quit my job 18 months after my husband did, and we've been traveling 50% ever since then. And just the ability to work from anywhere. I mean, I knew when I left my job that I would still have to have a business. And but working for the FBI, I needed to be a CPA in order
Mm,
to get a promotion. And then as soon as I became a CPA, this whole world opened up for me for businesses that I could have post FBI.
nice, nice. So, were you always interested in traveling, like from a young age, or what got you
Mhm.
interested in traveling?
So I have always traveled. I've always wanted to travel. Um, and I can't really even say what got me interested in it because it's something that I've always been interested in. And it it but in terms of traveling the way that we travel today
Hmm.
in the RV is because of watching YouTubers
Really?
and seeing, yeah, for a few years leading up to us buying our RV, we spent a lot of time, watching, families just thrive,
Mm.
getting rid of everything and traveling. And so, that's really, the for the style that we have. We're, pet parents, and we 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 used to have a dog and a cat when we moved into the RV. We weren't able to, keep take care of our cat. Um, he developed some health issues, and we had to make the horrible
Oh
decision that
no.
you do when you're a pet parent. And now we
Yep.
just have a chocolate lab named Cooper.
Nice.
And RVing is perfect for that because he's basically had somebody with him all day long every day for since my husband retired. And so it's we're going on like 40 months that
Nice. You must love
he
that.
yeah, he just, he's a perfect, in the truck. He knows, he sees what I'm doing and knows it's, a travel day. And he's like, what he goes outside and he'll run right to the truck and he's like, okay, like, I know it's a travel day, put me in. And we will continue to travel once we're no longer able to have Cooper with us,
Hmm.
but we will our next phase, and we're not in any hurry to make it happen. But we will cruise to other continents and
Mm.
then travel around, either maybe in a caravan, maybe in a train, maybe just a rental car. Travel around other continents until it's time, to get back on the next, cruise, repositioning back to or forward to wherever we're going to go. And so we're really enjoying having him with us, but we know it won't last forever, and we have an idea what we'll do, when we're not able to have him with us.
Right. So I'm assuming you've been all over the country. Is there anywhere you haven't been yet, or you've been everywhere?
Uh, I am. I have a trip planned to go to Portland
Hmm.
in 2 weeks, and it's the first time I will have ever been in Oregon, and I have not been to the Dakotas.
But everywhere else you've been.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice. So of all the places you've been to, what do you recommend? Like, what's the best place to go to?
Mm. There is no best place. All I can tell you are the highlights of the current trip that we're on.
Let's do it.
Uh, so we're just outside of Louisville, Kentucky, and our next travel day is Sunday, so a couple days from now. We are going to Mammoth Cave, which is a national park uh, in the western part of Kentucky. And so that's kind of why we're here. Our home base is Florida, and our northernmost spot on this trip was Michigan.
Mm.
So I have two highlights in Michigan. One is that I learned, like, with my eyes, not just my friends telling me, that Lake Michigan really does look like the Caribbean. I
Mm.
I had no idea. In fact, I didn't believe it until I saw it. And so Sleeping Bear Dunes National Seashore is one of the places, one of the absolute highlights of this trip. Uh, the other is Mackinac Island, which is it's in between, it's actually in Lake Huron, and
Yeah.
it's in between, the mainland of Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. And then I have another stop that was a favorite in Kentucky. We went through on the way up here. We went to the Kentucky Horse Park, which
Whoa.
was just amazing. They have an RV park, and it's like a neighborhood. just without the houses. So every lot is tree lined.
Wow. So
And
you just pull up and it's kind of like being in an actual home
yep,
in a lot.
yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
cool.
it's lovely. And let's see. Oh, and the other one I have from my last one is we're huge fans of lavender.
Hmm.
And we didn't know that they grow lavender in Michigan.
Mm. I
And
thought it was too cold up there.
in it, I've been to a lavender farm in Texas where they lost everything due to a freeze. So I have no idea how they're
Right.
able to grow lavender in Michigan. But we ended up in the area that's near Sleeping Bear Dunes. We ended up hitting 3 or 4 lavender farms just in a morning.
Wow.
And so
Fantastic.
those are just the best places like in the last like 6 weeks.
Nice. So when you were first thinking about moving, I mean, I'm assuming you lived in a home like most people do, and you had your life there. Like, were you like? Can you tell us a little bit about how you went through that initial process of leaving? I mean, how did that how did that feel? Like,
Yeah, so what's funny about it is my husband and I were watching the YouTubes before, we ever even thought about it.
right,
And then I just, just a throwaway line, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if we lived in an RV? Well, I didn't tell him that, 15 years before I met him, I had thought about living in an RV. And he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything one way or another. And then a month went by and he said, "Oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if we lived in an RV?" And it was like, that's it. Like we are on the same track.
I love it.
And
It's like you
it
planted a seed, and then it grew.
yep, yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes that's the secret of, a happy marriage is you drop it and walk away and like have no attachment to what you said. and
Exactly. Tell me
and
about it.
it'll come back to you and you'll be like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we once we decided, we're very big fans of the personal finance movement.
Hmm.
Like I mentioned, I'm going to Portland in a couple of weeks. I'm going to the largest conference for financial bloggers
Nice.
called FinCon. And so we figured out we were debt free except for our house, and we figured out we could sell it, pay it off, and have some money left over to buy a place to keep our RV in
Mm.
an RV. So we own in an RV neighborhood. It's an entire community in Central Florida that's all RVs, and
Wow.
you own them. And we have our name on the deed, and we get, it looks like a regular
So it's a
street
place to
address.
park your RV, basically.
Yeah, and
Nice.
Florida let us homestead it so that we get a reduced, property tax on it
Oh,
because
fantastic. And
because it is.
did you originally live in Florida? So you just,
Mhm. Yeah, I've lived in Florida since 2003.
mm,
So, and Florida is one of the better places to be a resident if you're going to be a nomad because there are no state income
oh
taxes.
yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. So once we decided, we knew we could be debt free. We knew we could buy a place, with the money that left over, as pedal to the metal. Let's get this done. And the only roadblock to us that was a tiny bit frustrating was all of our stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. It's always the stuff, isn't it?
And we during COVID, we're trying to donate it, we're trying to sell it, we're trying to,
You'd
get
already
people
made the
to.
decision by that point, by
Mhm.
COVID. Okay.
Yeah. And so, we're just and at one point my husband, said, I can't look through this anymore. Just order a dumpster. I don't care.
Hmm.
It is clear that I have looked through everything 3 times and there is nothing I need and I can't figure out any other way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And
At some
we
point,
didn't.
I think you just have to make that decision because you spent so much time going through it. And if you think about how much stuff there's usually how much. I mean, I'm not sure how long lived in that house, but it happens if you've been in a place for a while, it just collects, right? It just collects and collects and collects.
Yeah, so I was already 40 and had my own household for many years before
Hmm.
I married my husband, and he was like 37 and had lived on his own forever. And we had stuff to fill two houses, and we
Yeah.
crammed it into one house, and then it was way too overwhelming.
Did you have any moments when you were like, oh, I don't know if I want to get rid of this, like emotional moments like that, or was it all just, okay, I'm done, I'm out of here. We're This stuff can all go.
Yeah, pretty much this stuff can all go because our goal was to, whatever would fit in the RV, and we only have a 32-foot RV. And, the back of we have a pickup, we have a travel trailer, so we pull
Yeah.
it with a pickup truck with a cap on it. And so everything has to either fit in the cap or inside the RV. And we knew we didn't want our RV to look like our house had looked.
Right. That's another
So the
freeing aspect of it, right? I mean, all the stuff
yeah,
that you're leaving behind that you don't need anymore.
Yeah, and we couldn't even find it. We couldn't even get to the thing
Right.
because, we had so much other stuff. And so basically, it was easy because we almost didn't need to buy anything for the RV. I mean, the RV is all, I don't know if anybody's been in an RV, but you don't buy furniture, you don't buy lamps,
No, it's all
there's no,
there.
yes, if you like it, it's yours exactly the way that you see it. And so we just went through our stuff and said, oh, this trash can will fit, that trash can won't. And we just went through everything, and it took no time at all to be able to function in it. And then all the extra stuff just had to, we did. And I was fortunate that I had a lot of things that I had collected from my childhood. I'm an only child. My husband's an only child, and I have cousins who still wanted stuff, and so I would just pile it up and say, "Is this what you want?" And then I would just ship it out to them. And
Nice.
so, like, I don't. It doesn't matter to me what they did with it. It's just that they wanted it, and I got it to them.
Right. Nice. So you were able to easily transition. So do you have any kids or other family? What did the rest of your family and friends say when you told them you were going to go out on this endeavor?
So fortunately, I'm somewhat of an open book, and so uh, I would tell people about it long before we actually did anything. And really, the biggest reaction I got was, "Oh, I could never do that, but I think it's really cool that you were going to do it," because by then they knew that I don't fit in any box
Right.
anyway. And so the biggest reaction I got when we actually bought it and moved into it was, wow, she talks about it and she gets it done.
Yeah. Because hardly anyone does that, right? They talk about it, but then they don't do it. That's completely notable. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you, I mean, but you've lived in an RV before, so you know what the differences are. But I mean, did your husband have issues transitioning to it?
No, not at all. No, he actually has more experience camping and RVing than I did.
Mm,
So I had thought about living in an RV, but I'd never actually done it. And
right.
so we 2 years before we ever made any move at all, we had a 16-foot camper, which by 16 foot, that means it's only weekends and holidays.
Right.
It'd be difficult to do two people and a dog for more than a week. And we love Florida state parks, and so we booked reservations every month for an
Mm,
entire year, and we went all over the state of Florida. And as soon as we got done, we were probably halfway through the year, and we said we can totally do this. Um, you know, we just started living in it instead of in the beginning when you start RVing, you're like planning meals and you're doing like your camping meals, and then a few months in, we're like, let's just put the food that fits from the refrigerator in there and eat like we're at home.
yeah. You start transitioning you take your base and move it into your RV as opposed to in your home.
Hmm.
Nice.
Hmm. Yep.
Very
Yeah.
cool. And then so how long was this transition period before you decided to, did you just buy the RV and then go, or there must have been a transition period where you had the RV and you were still at home?
So, no, actually, it's funny. So, we knew ahead of time that we were going to do it. We knew when we were going to do it, and we bought the RV at a dealership that would allow you to sleep in your RV on the RV lot,
Oh,
full hookups and everything,
nice.
the day you buy it. So we took delivery on New Year's Eve 2019, and we spent our first night in it, and we brought it to the RV park where we knew we were going to be stationary for a while. And as soon as we set it up, we could have gone home, but we had a brand new house, and
Yeah, it's like you're
you know,
moving in.
yeah, and so I said I don't really want to go back home unless I have to.
Wow. How did you deal with this with the space difference? I mean, I don't know
So
how big your first your house was, but I'm assuming it was larger than your RV.
yeah, so it was about 1,700 square feet.
Not huge. That's good.
No, no. And um, well, you see me, I didn't say this, but I'm sitting at I'm at a campground picnic table, and that
Hmm.
is my office. And that is really the only space issue that we really have to deal with is I I learned once I quit my job and we left the city where we had lived for 20 years and went to our stationary place and I started working in my business full time. I learned to work outside in the summer in Florida.
Hmm.
And so
But it
but
gets hot.
yeah, yeah, but I take a shower every night before I go to bed. It's fine.
That's the thing
And
that's always the thing I wondered about so do you shower in the RV or do you shower at the park or something like that? How does that work?
so it's a combination. So when we have full hookups, which is what we have here, we'll shower in the RV.
Hmm.
Uh, but last week we were at an Indiana State Park where all we had was electric,
Mm,
which means we have to manage our fresh water and our tanks that hold our wastewater. And so when that happens, we shower almost all the time in the bathhouses.
right, right. And most of
And
these campgrounds do have most of these places have bathhouses.
yeah, so the only places that we stay on a regular basis that don't have a bathhouse are what's called a Harvest Host location.
Hmm.
And we pay a membership once a year, and it's primarily an overnight stay. And so it comes, we only get the ones that have electric hookup because we're not off grid outfitted at this with the RV that we have. And so that there's no facilities that come with that because we were at somebody's house. And so you're not going to go into their house to use their restroom. But
No.
all the rest of the places we have bathhouses and some of you know, the RV showers can be a little confining. So we are currently at a very bougie RV park that has a much bigger shower option in the
Nice.
bathhouse. And so, like last night before I went to bed, I just, walked up to if you can, like in a hotel, you see, this is something only an RVer thinks about. So if I could put my arms out and not touch the wall, I'm in a luxurious, shower because
Exactly.
normally I'm only able to do this, and it's very comfortable.
Mm,
For us to use our RV shower or to go to the bathhouse, it's kind of like being in sports in high school and college. You get used to using the shower facilities in basically in public. I mean, you have your own private stall, but it either or is totally fine with
Oh
us.
yeah. But are these a little more expensive, these places to stay? I mean, how much do they cost? These
So
luxurious ones, the bougie
yeah,
ones.
so the bougie ones can the nicest one we've ever stayed at is about $130 a night,
Wow,
but
that's like a hotel room almost.
it's in Key West.
Oh, well, there you go. That's different.
Yeah. Yeah, so we
Can't get a
do
hotel room for that price in Key West. Nuh-uh.
no, no. No, 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 you might be able to get a couch for that much.
Yeah, that's right. Do some couch
Yeah,
surfing.
yeah, exactly. So we do, because I mentioned earlier that we love personal finance, we do basically arbitrage.
Mm,
So we'll stay, like, we're here like 3 or 4 nights, but last week we were in Indiana State Park and it was $20 a night.
mm,
And it was lovely. We're you know in the trees and there's a hawk flying through our
nice.
space. And immediately before that, we were in a bougie campground in Indianapolis for 2 nights. And so we're able to, you know, pay the higher prices. And it probably averages about $75 for, like for where we're at now.
Right.
And so we'll do like, just a few nights in civilization, basically. We're, right down the street from a Kroger and a Walmart and Starbucks. And then, we'll go, our next stop is in 1,000 Trails RV Park, which is a membership as well that we pay for. And then, and it's a full service campground, even though, it's a membership. And so we'll arbitrage, so that'll actually be free because we pay a membership once a year.
Right.
And then, so we bounce back and forth between, the higher priced ones and the very low priced ones or free ones.
That sounds like it
And
requires a lot of planning though. Or do you do a lot of planning like as
so,
far ahead?
so I run the business and provide services, and my husband does all the trip planning.
Okay, that's good.
And and so, it's funny because there's this lovely book um, by Lynn Martin, who she and her husband Tim traveled full time. Um, in I think it's called Home Free Anywhere is the
Mm,
book. Home Sweet Anywhere, I think it is. And her husband was the travel planner, and she explains that he was worried about something and he really wanted to make sure that she liked something he did. And she straight up said, I didn't plan it, so I love it. I don't get to complain about, the what what I had in mind, or what I'm missing, because I didn't have to do the planning. And so, I as soon as I read that in her book, I've adopted that for myself. And so the only complaint that my husband has to hear from me is there are too many trees and we can't get a really good, position on our Starlink. And we don't have, so we have, I have a business, my business is on T-Mobile service.
hmm
I have a Verizon hotspot, and then we have Starlink as our primary service. And that's a definite, tech tip that I give you is, different services and ability to, have, um, you know, other options to switch to.
Oh yeah,
And
I can believe that. I could believe that I have the backups too, and I'm not even mobile right now. I still need backups.
yeah, and we went to a park in our first Thousand Trails park in Michigan. Uh, they had so many, everybody had Starlink.
Mm,
And so it was actually too saturated. We were not
really?
able to
Too many
use.
Starlinks.
Mhm.
I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that was an issue, but I guess they work on some kind of mesh network sort of thing. So if there's too many in that one area, then
Hmm.
interesting. I didn't even
Yeah.
know that. So let's talk a little bit about funding. So you said you sold your house and you had some money to help start your journeys. And then is that when you started your business, or did you start your business before you left?
I was lucky enough to start. So working for the FBI, you have to request permission from the head of the office to start a business, and I was lucky that they authorized me to do that. And
On the
so
side or instead of?
on the side,
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
And and so I was able to start taking on clients while I was still working, knowing what my timeline was. And I knew I use a system called Profit First, and it's a book on, part of what it does is talks about percentages and helps you understand, if your income is this, then, this percentage can be used
Yeah, I think I've heard of
for.
that book. That's been around for a while, hasn't it?
It
Hmm.
has. So, 30% of what you bring in for your revenue can go to your operating expenses. 50% what you bring in can fund your personal lifestyle. 15% for saving for taxes, and 5% for profit. For my clients, I call that their freedom fund. The
Mm,
5% is what they're going to use to fund their travel. And so I knew, because, like I mentioned earlier, I will get a pension. I'm about a year out from being able to get my pension. And so I knew that we were going, as a family, we're going to need to live on, my husband's pension, my pension, our
yeah,
investments.
yeah,
And so for my business, all I needed to do was use the profit first principles to bring in enough revenue so that the 50% that went to our household income, was equal to what I would get from my pension.
right, right. So you mapped that all out before you left?
Hmm.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool. So you knew
Yeah.
exactly how much you needed to make before you
Mhm.
left. Excellent.
And I signed the last client that I needed to get the monthly recurring revenue to hit my numbers 2 days before I left my job.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
And your costs have pretty much remained the same all the way through then. So everything is being funded perfectly.
Yeah. Yes.
As long as you have the same clients, you haven't lost any, right? Have you gained any more?
So yeah, so it's always in flux. I just lost a client just 2 weeks ago. I had a client go, and I'm probably gonna let a few more go and then add more. I think I'm very, very thankful. I mean, our investments have done so well.
Oh yeah, most of them have actually.
And we are, my husband asked me to look at my thrift savings plan, which is the 401k equivalent that government employees have.
Hmm.
And, I keep seeing numbers that, I mean, it's shocking how much our investments have grown
Yeah.
since we stopped adding to them.
Interesting, huh?
Uh, and so we're in a position now where, when I'm struggling with a client, we're not seeing eye to eye. My husband will remind me that I haven't taken any money out of my investments for 2 years.
Yep.
And if you are in the personal finance world and you understand the 4% rule, which says that if you withdraw 4% of your investments each year, you will never run out of money. And
Hmm.
so he has helped me see, even though I'm the finance person, he was the tech person.
Yeah.
And, when I'm struggling with a client, he said, no problem. We will just start taking money out of your investments. That's
Yeah.
why you save the investments. You know, I, I didn't force you to promise to go 3 years without taking money out of your investments. I just wanted you to extend it as long as you can. And guess what? My next birthday is I am going to be 59 and a half in January,
Oh,
which means I can
perfect.
take I can take money out of any of my investments for, without any penalty.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that I make it until January. before I need to take anything out of my investments. But it makes things a lot easier to find clients that I enjoy working with and who value the services that I offer.
Nice, nice. And can I ask like what your running costs are compared to what they were when you were in a home? Like I'm assuming it's a lot cheaper now.
So it is not
Really?
actually. Yeah, so we typically because we were, aggressively paying off our debt, we for years have been operating on a $20,000 per year per person spent.
Mm.
And that is about the level that we're at right now.
So you're spending about as much as you did before. So it hasn't been a savings there.
Right, but I didn't need to put money in. I mean, all the extra money after we became debt free went into my investments.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that don't really understand why you need less money in retirement. And the biggest thing is that you're no longer in accumulation mode.
That's right.
You're in preservation.
Exactly right. And people forget that.
Mhm.
So let's talk a little bit about health insurance. Are you just did you get a specific plan for that, or is it just on the same plan that you had before, or
It's the lovely, lovely, lovely part of being a retired government employee. The United
hmm
States government will insure me for the rest of my life.
well, there you go. So that's not an issue.
Nope. So the only difference was in the 3-year gap. So that was why, I wore the golden handcuffs, until I was eligible to quit my job and I had my pension locked in. So once you're eligible, once you've reached your minimum retirement age and the number of years of service that you're required, you lock in both your ability to have health insurance for the rest of your life and your pension. And so I took a 3-year break from that and I just went on my husband's insurance. And
hmm
so with the federal government, it's a tiny bit cheaper to be like self and self.
Right.
And now we're on the self plus one family plan. And as soon as my pension starts, we'll go back to being self and self. And so if heaven forbid anything happened to my husband, I will have my own insurance once my pension starts.
Well, excellent. That's excellent. So you're one of the first people. You're the first person I talked to who actually has a travels with their pet full time.
Oh,
Is there
wow.
anything specific that people need to know, like if they're thinking about traveling with a pet, like lessons learned from you?
So we have our pet has elbow dysplasia. He's had since he was 6 months old, and we have a vet who is fine with us, shipping medication wherever we are.
Nice.
And so, that I think is the biggest consideration. And one thing that people may or may not, you may think it's easy to get packages on the road. You may think it's hard to get packages on the
I
road.
was going to ask
It's
you that. I'm like,
it
how is
it
that possible?
it's in the middle.
Yeah.
So you call. So I just went down to the main office where we are just before this call, and I said I have a package that I know was delivered, and they gave me the package, and that's my dog's medication that we just
hmm
had shipped here. But you need to look forward to see where you're going to be long enough to get a package because you
Right.
you don't know exactly when it's going to get sent and when it's going to get shipped. And so you call them up and you say, "What is your package policy?" And some people will say, "We do not accept packages. If your Amazon shows up, there's a locker and like out front, where anybody can see it, and we'll just throw it in there, and we consider that to be that we don't have packages shipped there."
Right.
And then, places like the Thousand Trails we're about to go to Sunday, I called them ahead of time and I said, "What is your package policy?" And they said, "As long as you have a reservation, we will accept your package. We don't charge for it. We have no problem with it." So I had a bunch of things sent that I didn't, I don't need them until I get there, and I don't need to worry about the timing. Now, the place where we're at now, the package had to come in my husband's name because he made the reservation,
Mm,
and it can't come before you get there. It
right.
has to come
Oh,
while you're already
okay.
there.
That takes a little bit of logistical planning there to get me
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so like I said, we love personal finance. So we do some credit card travel hacking, and I got a new credit card since we were on the road. And I said I was going to Portland to FinCon, and so I need the plastic, which got sent to we have a PMB, a personal mailbox service in Florida, and they'll hold we have it scanned, so I can, have them scan it, and I can look at it and say, shred it, save it. And then once a month, we have the mail shipped to a location. So I had that shipped, uh, excuse me, 2 weeks ahead of time to the Thousand Trails that we're going to, because they said, sure, just as long as you have a reservation, we'll accept it and hold it until you get here. And so inside there is the credit card that I need for my trip that I'm going on
Wow.
in two
So
weeks.
so you do need to have that set up because I can understand that, you know, you do need to have some place to have packages and mail and all sorts of things like. And then I'm assuming that you've got regular monthly billing and that's just electronic, so you just use bill pay and things like that. So there's nothing really that shows up in the mail that's key other than those kind of packages that you need.
Yeah, really, really nothing. It's really no different because we lived in the RV for 2.5 years before
Mm,
we started moving. And so it was is lower lift because we started adopting, policies for ourselves before we ever started moving.
right.
And so, we established this mail service, and, and tested it out, and we didn't have to uh, you know, set it up and then hit the road and hope that it would do what we wanted it to do.
Right.
And even, and it was funny because you mentioned, that I had said, we got some money left over from my house when we sold it. We used that money to pie into a neighborhood in Florida, which is
Mm,
our stationary point. But we picked it because, people that are in personal finance and do credit card and travel hacking may, choose Chase. It's, one of the more common systems to get into. And we found out that there were some properties that we were looking at living as being a personal, our home base, where Chase wouldn't accept the address.
really?
Yeah,
That's
that
crazy.
yeah, so
Why, why wouldn't they do that? I mean, it's a place.
yeah, so ever since so I know a little bit about that because I worked counterterrorism when I worked for the FBI.
Right.
And so it's a piece of the Patriot Act, and it's because the 9/11 hijackers used post office boxes and were
Uh,
allowed to banks at that time would allow you to open an account with only a post office box. And the Patriot Act, stressed that, banks needed to collect a street address
physical
essentially.
locate, yeah, some kind of physical
Hmm.
location like that. It's
Hmm.
too bad because that's kind of a knock against people like digital nomads who are always moving around, right?
Hmm.
So that's a
Hmm.
negative.
Yeah, and so that's why, like in the RV space, there are two, PMB like mail services that are quite popular. And we went with, because we were longtime Florida residents, that one of them is located, but both of them have locations in Florida that you can use. But the alternative one, it comes to an address in Florida, but their actual mailroom is in Texas. So they
Mm,
take all the mail that comes into Florida, ship it all to Texas. So it's got a longer lag time before
Mm.
they'll open it and scan it and hold it and ship it and all that. And so, uh, it turned out that the mail service that we went with was actually located in the county where we had lived for 20 years.
Oh, that's lucky. That's really good. So I want to talk a little bit about technology because we talked a little bit about Starlink and about
Mhm,
internet accesses and things like that.
mhm.
So do you have any challenges from a technology's perspective running your business from anywhere?
No, not at all. It's just connectivity is
Hmm.
is primary. And sometimes Starlink isn't the best for Zoom calls. Sometimes it's fantastic. But when I started my business, I started it knowing that I was, my very first client was the only client that I ever took that I lived in the same city. So I've always required them to be on a certain software. I've required them to, meet with me virtually. And so, there really are no differences between, technology wise, between how I ran my business when I first started, where we were stationary for 2.5 years, or, today, where, we've been on a trip for 3 months already.
Yeah. So and from a technology perspective, it's just the same thing. It's just the connectivity. And do the
Mhm.
places you go to, do they have Wi-Fi as well, or do you have to just do it
Yeah, so
yourself?
they do. Oh my goodness, I did a webinar when we were in Mackinac. We were in a KOA outside of Mackinac Island, and I had, I was, yeah, the connectivity was horrible, and I'm
Oh
trying to
no.
do a webinar, and I'm talking about my course, and I'm introducing it to the people that might buy my course, and it's going. I got all the way knocked out of Zoom,
Oh
and
no.
back up, and so I'm trying to do campground Wi-Fi. I'm doing my Verizon hotspot. I tried everything I had, and so what they will tell you, different than a hotel. I mean, hotel Wi-Fi, you can watch YouTube and watch TV, Netflix, that kind of thing. uh Campground Wi-Fi, they will tell you that it's really only for checking email.
Mm.
you know, no, stuff
So
isn't going to load fast enough for
so
you.
you can't really do your 4K video streaming webinars from these
No,
locations.
no, no,
So,
no.
but your business isn't mostly, but your business is mostly consultative based right now. Right now, you don't, not that concerned about doing webinars and courses and creation stuff where you're uploading videos and things like that.
I am moving in that direction right now.
Right.
So, and so I'm split between, working with people one on one. I'm moving. I will always keep a certain number of, one on one clients, but
Sure.
my new clients are I'm moving towards one to many, where I'm going to need to find the sweet spot of, you know, doing webinars and uploading. I'm creating videos, and it works great when I'm on, because Starlink is truly unlimited, whereas like our Verizon, it says we're on an unlimited plan, but I have to look at it every day to see if
Oh,
there's
it's the same
anything
for me.
left.
I'm on T-Mobile and they're the same thing. They're like, oh, it's unlimited, and they get you 5 gigs and it's like, okay, it slows down for some reason.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So that's why you need backup plans. That's why you
yeah,
need backup plans.
yeah,
So what would you
yeah.
say? What would you say is like the number one thing that people are concerned about when they make this transition? And
So,
how would you say they should deal with it?
so how to find a remote job is,
Mm,
it's usually the first thing that people think of, that, they're living in a traditional house, they're ready to make the transition to mobile living, and they know their current job won't let them go remote, and so it's like, do you start a business, if you've never been a business owner before, or do you try to find a remote job? And the answer is, you try to do both.
hmm.
The options for remote businesses and remote jobs, it's fluctuating. I have friends who, have been on the road for 4 years and got called back to the office, their ability to work remotely was pulled. And
Yeah.
so, my preference is to start a business.
Mm,
And if you can start a business like I did while you're still working and you can test it, when the stakes are low because you're not having to live on the money,
yeah.
if you can have a plan and know how much you're going to need, your business is going to need to bring into your household income and use profit first to back into, what revenue you need to bring in. And then you can test out a few ideas for making money. And if you start getting traction and you like it, that would be the direction I would have people go.
Right. Because that's usually the first thing people think about is how am I going to fund my travels? Because a lot of times they don't start with a big bundle of money that they can use to tap into when they go.
Mhm. Yeah, and no one, and you shouldn't wait until you have that. You should
No.
do, the sooner the better. And really the world opens up for you, and there are so many opportunities that you would never be open to seeing if you weren't already out on the road.
Yeah. Well, what's the number one thing that you say is that's opened your eyes about being on the road as opposed to working for somebody?
So what I should have known this and I didn't
Mm,
is that when we get to a new city or when we're looking ahead to see what city we're going to, I'm able to meet up with people that I would never see.
mm,
And like we're just outside of Louisville, and I said, "Oh wait, I got to talk to Troy and see if he's in town." And we're having dinner with a friend of mine that I haven't seen in 4 years, and I wouldn't see him any other way.
right.
And we spent, we really bonded with my sister-in-law, last summer, and we planned another week-long trip with her. And we just wouldn't get that quality time, basically any other way. And so we're so much closer. And I should have expected that, but I just thought about travel, just me and my husband and our pets, and I didn't
Right.
I didn't think about the people that you're going to be exposed to people that have different ideologies than you, and you expect that and you're fine with it. But to be you know be in a city with people that I love, and I'm like, oh, I need to check on this person, I need to check on that person, and we have so many, working for the FBI for this many years. We have friends all over the United States
I believe it.
that, we're just, oh, I can't wait to go here to see that person. And I think that was the thing that, my eyes were open to that, very quickly. And I had never considered it.
So would you call yourself an extrovert or an introvert?
Oh my goodness. The FBI turned me into an extrovert. I was an introvert until I went through agent training, and I had to be able to walk up to anybody and start talking to them, and their training system really works. And
Mm,
now I can talk to anybody. I had four online meetings yesterday, and by the end of the day I was a little tired of talking, but I know that if I had not gone through my transformation, working for the FBI, I don't think I could do more than one meeting a day, and I think it would have wiped me out.
would you say that this life is hard on introverts then?
No, it's funny because I think you can do it however you like.
You would
I
think,
really,
but I mean, it seems like everyone I talk to is more of an extrovert. They enjoy talking to people when they go to new places and things like that. But did
yeah, I know people that are introverts, and basically I have met a lot of people who say, okay, I'm an introvert, but I'm a high functioning introvert.
that's a thing?
And so it's like if I need to, I can talk to people. But I mean, where we were last week, we were 7 days in the woods. We couldn't see anybody.
Nice.
Uh,
So you have to
you
be good
know,
with being alone too when you do
mhm.
stuff like this. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so, and so I think you can do it either way. I
Mm.
think it I think it'll work fine for people.
But you must
You
have
know,
met some interesting people along the way that you didn't know. Like,
yeah.
where do you normally do you just meet the people in the park, or do you go to local restaurants, or where do you meet these interesting people that you connect with?
Well, I'll talk to anybody. Just ask my husband. Be like, I can't believe you're talking to this person. But I'll chat people up and in line. I mean, so one of the ways that I've always loved building my business is going to conferences. And I met someone who had a business called Be the Stage, and his entire concept was, to make a business that promoted other people and gave
Mm,
them a stage to speak on. And his very early in my building my business, he said, he gave out a little, 10-point thing about what to do at conferences. And he does this in life. And it's like, whenever you're in line, you talk to the person in front of you and you talk to the person in behind you.
hmm.
And I'm also in some RV communities where we use Marco Polo, and so it's asynchronous. So you know we're in groups together, and I'm a lead for this month, and so I talk, bring out a topic, and then we each, on our own time, answer the question and chit chat back and forth. And so I get to see those ladies when I go to RV events, like,
Hmm.
the Tampa RV show, or, uh, the Hershey RV show. And when we're on the road, oh, who's here, who's where, and we're looking for opportunities to see each other in person.
Nice. What is this? Marco Polo? Is that some kind of social network,
It's an
or
app, and
it's an
it's
app?
just,
I've never
yeah,
heard of it.
yeah. A lot of ladies are familiar with it. Almost all I don't know any men that use Marco Polo. It's a free app. It and
I was
you
going to tell
you
my
could
wife about it then.
Yeah, and you could talk to anybody. Anybody else that has an app has that same app. But what we use it for in the community that I'm a part of is we make a group, and so you put certain people in the
So it's
group.
kind of like WhatsApp or something like that, but
Yeah, yeah, but it's with video.
oh, really?
Yeah, so it's really made a difference in my ability to make videos for my course, because I spend a lot of time talking to myself on my phone,
Right.
to the ladies in my Marco Polo group. And I do that while I'm walking. I'm trying to get my miles in every day. I like to, walk 3 miles. And so I put my earbuds in and I'm listening to, the people in my group. And then I stop and talk to them. And then I go on to the next video to
Nice.
watch.
That's fantastic. So I've got some great resources here, but this is fantastic. So thank you so much. I mean, we're running out of time, but I'd love to get more info from you. Maybe we can talk again at some point.
Yeah.
But can you tell me, so if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
So LinkedIn is my favorite platform for people to reach out, and it's Penny Crispell Rose, and I'll make sure that you get that handle so that you
Hmm.
can connect. Put it in the notes.
And do you have your own website, or do you host somewhere else, or where's your stuff if we
So
want to take a
I
look
do.
at it?
So I do have my own website, and the name of my company, as you can see on the screen, is Fee Fi Fo Fum. So it's F E F
I
I
love
F
that.
O FUM. So it stands for FE is federal employee, FI is financial independence, and FUM is money that you need to walk away from your job. It's forget you money.
Nice,
It-
nice. I love that.
yeah, so my website is fee-fi-fo-fum-services.com.
Very cool. So I'll put all the links in the show notes, including some of the other stuff that you talked about. And this has been great. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thank
You're heading
you.
to
Great
Oregon
talking
next,
to you.
right? Is that where you're going
Uh,
next?
so we're going to Mammoth, and then after Mammoth, I'm flying to Oregon.
Fantastic. Well,
Thank you.
enjoy. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Talk
Thank
to you soon.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained. I thrive, I thrive. Oh, thrive.